I'm going to move ahead. Okay. Move ahead is screwing this to the bottom. And there we go. These are 1 inch thick boards. You want to put the screws in 1/2 inch. And let's see. Gonna need, and I don't want to run the screws right into one of these, because that's just asking to split. Even though I'm going to pre-drill them, I won't. I'm going to skip over. That's 1 inch. These are 1/2 inches. So, well, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and draw the line on there. It'll give it character, right? Take a 1/2 inch. That'll put it in the center. Well, maybe just do a guideline along here. Do a guideline along here. Now, I don't want to do these randomly. I do want to do them, so they look evenly spaced. It would be best if this didn't have any screws visible at all, then it's total woodworking if I did it by doweling it in or something, but I don't have that skill, so I'm not going to do it. Let's go ahead. I'm going to want two in each board, and I don't want to go through the joint. Geez. There we go. Don't want to go through the joint, so I'm going to go 1.5 inches in to start, because that'll get it past the joint. And then let's do 3/4 inch from the middle. I'll do. But also we're going to get 1.5 inches down the side here to get away from the split. Do 1.5 inches down here. And okay, so if that's 3 out, that would be 23. Let's just say 26. Just put 1 in the middle, just for the heck of it. That'd be 13. And let's put 1. Let's just have 5. That'll be good, wouldn't it? How's this for lots of thought into the design? Now let's go ahead and put. Let's go ahead and put 7 in each one. No, that's 5's enough. 13. So, well, actually, here we go. Supposedly about 11.5. So that's 5 3/4. Okay. 1 there. 11 and. Let's make them symmetrical. Even this was not exact. Okay, we'll do that for the other side too. And then we're going to pre-drill the holes. All right. These are not super critical. I'm going to go ahead and mark these. Make it easy. And I'm going to drill them on the drill press because it's actually a lot quicker. I like to have it, it'll make sure they're vertical. As long as you're careful with a hand drill, you can do it too. But hey, I actually happen to have the tool, so I'm going to use it. This is another one of those details that makes a big difference when you're working with pine. I've mentioned before that pine has these hard, really hard pieces of grain. It's soft in between and hard in these other grains, and it'll deflect your drill. It'll deflect screws. It'll deflect, like I was showing in the on the blanket chest with the pocket hole screws. The hard grain will deflect where the screw is going to go. Now, in that case, we clamped it down really hard so it couldn't. In this case, we're drilling, and drilling's a different thing. One of the ways to help minimize the drill being deflected, because I just was very careful in marking where I wanted those screw holes to go, and then when the screw goes through, I want it to actually go straight through and not push the board sideways and then end up, I'm trying to line it up nice. I want to run the screw in and have the screw move it over. So I'm not sure what these are actually called, but and I've already got one installed here in the drill press, but this has a, let's see if you can Let's see it here. If my crummy phone camera will focus. It's a really thick piece of metal that ends up having a small drill starter. And you start a hole with it, and once it's a ways into the wood, the idea is that it's already got, started, and that part of the wood will help hold the drill bit straight through the rest of the drilling. So we'll see. This is the best we can do, so that's what we're going to do. But this is really helpful. Now those pre-drilled holes, I'll just guide this drill bit right through. I actually kind of overdid it on a couple of them. Wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. And went a little bit deep, but it'll be all right. Okay, now we come to drilling the pilot holes into the rest of the box. And this is just as important as getting these holes started. If we just went to all this trouble to do this, and we don't get the pilot holes drilled into here properly, we could just drill in and we'd have the same, shifting, bending the drill bit, moving the board out of the way problem that we would have had if we done it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, I got this placed so it's even, and it's also the other side matches where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to clamp this in place. There, so it can't move. Okay, final check, yeah. See, now, this is one of the things, doing this kind of thing is what makes a difference in quality. And like I said, we've already got this little bit of character here because of this. But if these things shift over, they can shift over with this grain, they can shift over almost 1/8 of an inch. And it would end up looking really sloppy. And it reminds me of a saying I saw on a sign once in a store. It said, "Quality is like buying oats. If you want clean, fresh oats, you expect to pay a fair price. If you want oats that have been run through the horse once, that comes cheaper." So there's nothing necessarily wrong with having the more character in the thing that you've done. But when you see these things in stores where they're actually sloppy, you don't expect to pay much for them. It's like in Harbor Freight or Hobby Lobby. I guess Hobby Lobby's more pertinent for this. There's a lot of cheap stuff for sale in there. Cheap as in, I guess, relatively low quality, been produced in China or some other third world country, and it costs too much. But then they have these sales where it's 50% off, so you never buy anything at Hobby Lobby or Harbor Freight for that matter at full price, because it's always going to go on sale because it's already overpriced anyway. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and get on with this. Here we go. I'm going to, since it's closest to that clamp, I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to do this one. Actually, since it doesn't seem to be moving, I'm going to go ahead and do all of them. Yeah. I was considering doing a couple, and running the screws into it to hold it in place, but this is working as it is. The hole size that I drilled is the size for the screw, the size that the screw would screw into, not that it would slip through, because you need the right size hole down here. And this is going to be a guide. You don't want to have extra space where it could slop around, and then that ends up making it move. So a lot of times I will go through and I'll drill these out bigger so that the screw will slip through them. But let's see if we can get away with not doing that. I don't think we're going to, because this board has a little bit of bow in it, and we're going to want the screw to pull this down flat. And if it's actually threaded into this wood instead of slipping, it won't do that. So what the heck, let's just go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and drill it out anyway. Might as well, it'll take a little bit of extra time now, but I won't waste time by doing it the wrong way first. Oops. Another note, when you screw two pieces of material together, it's a good idea to have more screw go into what's doing the holding than what you're going through. So this is 1 inch. I think it's supposed to be like, 1.5 times. Well, I got these 2-inch screws, so that's what I'm doing. That's going to, at least equal. I mean, if I had this, 1 1/4 inch screw, like, oh, yeah, I got this 1 1/4 inch screw. Well, only 1/4 inch is holding it, and 1/4 inch is just that tip. I mean, it would not hold at all. So that's a good rule of thumb. At least the same thickness, but usually more, 1.5 inches, 1.5 times, or twice what you've got going here. And now I need to change the bit on this. By the way, Phillips screws, don't use Phillips screws. These actually have square drive also. Those are all right. But plain Phillips screws, they do what's called camming out. You're drilling in, you're screwing it in, and then the bit will, jump out of the head, and you can't get it driven all the way in, and then it ends up stripping. Phillips screws apparently are actually designed to do that because it prevents them from breaking off, in the material. I think that was way back when they were first come up with. They're better than using just plain, straight tip, standard screwdriver. But okay. Actually, gonna have to take these out. And go ahead and clamp this sucker down. The old saying goes, if it won't fit, force it. If it breaks, it was defective. I said earlier about the different types of clamps. This, actually, I'm going to redo this. I'm going to back it all the way out, clamp it down, and now, because it actually bottomed the clamp out the way I had it. There. Oops, wrong one. That didn't work. Of course, I also put it a little bit too close to that. There we go. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, hey, do the same thing with this side now. Quick note, going to put this other side on. Even with all our precautions, on this end we had something slip, even though I'd clamped it down. Because you'll note, it's not flush here, and I'd set them up as flush. I can feel a little bit of overhang here, quite a bit. Over here it's flush. This is all on this end. It is flush, but there's nothing I can do about that now. To quote Long John Silver on the Wishbone episode Salty Dog, it is what it is, mate. This is another one of those duh moments. Obviously, I am going to move that so that it is flush here. Now we will have this infinitesimal gap in the middle, but that is much more acceptable than having this. I mean, this isn't for carrying water, so if I'm going to have a misalignment someplace, it'll be in the middle where it's much less noticeable. Hiding your errors.